Welcome to the Whare Whakaruruhau webinar for this term. It's lovely to see you all. If you haven't put your cluster number and your name in the chat, we'd love you to do that. And also if you could pop your video on. Today is all about being interactive, so it would be lovely to see your beautiful faces today as well. We'll start with karakia. Ngā mihi o te rā, ki te whānau e hui hui nei. Kia tau te rangi marie, kia whakatapua tātou me ngā mea, e whakapono ana tātou, hume hue tai kie. Greetings of the day to the whānau gathered here. Let peace be with us, and may we respect each other and what we believe. Bind together, gather together, united. And our whakatauki for this session, e taonga rongonui te aroha ki. Te aroha ki te tangata. Goodwill towards others is a precious treasure. So just some housekeeping for today. Unless you're sharing, can you please mute? But we would love you if you could use your emojis down the bottom under React. If something that one of our presenters today says something that really resonates with you, feel free to use your reactions. We're recording this session and we will share it with you. Hi, Joe. Thanks for showing how it's done. Let's connect, inspire, and uplift each other. We really want you to be an active participant today. And any gems or partai to the chat, add them in throughout the session. We'll be keeping a record to guide our next webinars. So running through our webinar this morning, the agenda, we'll do the welcomes, introductions. We're going to recap what we've done in 24 and 25, which is really exciting. There's some great stuff here this morning. We're going to look at our focus for 2026, which is our communities of practice. And then we've got some exciting information for you around the Te Whare Whakaruruhau survey and research project that we've been working on. And I think that you guys will find that really informative and maybe challenging today. And then, of course, we'll close with karakia. So as you know, my name's Anna Ladbrook. I'm one of the PLN members for Te Whare Whakaruruhau based in Cluster 40 in Te Anau. So Ants was just telling me that he's got sun of 22 degrees and we've got fresh snow on the hills. So there we go. Over to you, Ants.
Right. Thank you, Anna. Ko Anthony Sampa-Tokuingua, no o te tahi ahau. Great to have you all online, all 11 of you this morning. So awesome. Fee, do you want to jump in?
Kia ora, ko Fiona Harkness ahau. I'm up the other end of the island, well, north of Whangarei, but I'm in Cluster 2, which is based in Whangarei. Morena.
Right, morena everybody. Ko Michelle Wishart Takuingoa. As you can see, I'm from Cluster 5, which is Auckland, Tamaki Makaurau, West Auckland. And I'm sitting here though in Helensville. And yeah, it's nice to see those of you here this morning. And we were just talking about how we've hit the ground running, and I'm sure that you guys probably have too. But yes, as Anna said, we really want this to be an interactive session because we really want to hear your thoughts today. So we look forward to that. Okay. So just to go over, so I'm just going to talk up to this slide. Some of you might have been to the webinars that I sort of presented. Basically, it was like an introduction to trauma-informed practice. You know, we looked at the whole understand the science, the importance of regulation, relation, and reason. And our work and our thoughts are really primarily centered on Bruce Perry's Neurosequential Model in Education. And so and that's the core understanding. Every time that I talk with a teacher or anything and they're having trouble, I say, well, let's go back, regulate, relate, reason. That's where we start, that bottom-up processing. So that's sort of a core. And then I also talked about the PACE project and what that was about, a really effective framework for relationship, playfulness, acceptance, curiosity, and empathy. And I can't overstate enough the importance of playfulness. because it really sort of helps, especially when you're feeling there's a lot of pressure. So those were two really key things that we covered in quite a lot of depth, actually. So moving on.
Sorry. My mouse had a little bit of a...
That's all right. Now,
moment.
Fee, we're going to hear from you in terms of about language. Are we not?
We are. Okay. So I had an opportunity to present on one of the sort of some subject dear to my heart. I have a strong belief that language matters and that it's actually a really powerful lever for change. But it does need to start with us being aware of the languaging that we're using. We tend to slip into habits of speech that unwittingly influence the way we perceive things. So there's a whole lot of research out there, and I've shared some great researchers that have been able to show that the way that we frame things, the language that we use, has a very powerful impact on the way we show up and the way that we perceive things. So one of my favourite quotes is, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I can see us being very intentional about talking about a child having difficulty rather than being difficult, ditching the language that implies choosing. So this is why I love Ross Green. Kids do well if they can. It's not that they won't, it's that they can't. They don't have the skills to do what we're asking them to do in that moment. But if we still use language that implies choosing, that they're refusing, that it's deliberate, that it's manipulative is a trigger word for me, then it puts us, as much as we care, we want what's best, it puts our brains over in a place that's going to keep us stuck in making assumptions that the child, that this is willful, that they're in the top part of their brain, when they're often not. They're often in that kind of survival part of the brain, in overwhelm. So that was the kind of in a nutshell, the focus of my presentation. It's something that we will continue to do some work on. And then what we're trying to do is make sure that we're carrying a theme through. So then Ant's picked up on that theme and did a presentation on declarative language, and he's going to just speak to that briefly.
Yeah, thanks, Fee. Yeah, I did come in and talk about declarative language. So as the slide suggests here, it's about sharing observations and expressing your thoughts and reflections and getting away from those, I guess, interrogative type of questions, the what, the why, etc. So within the presentation, there was a lot to unpack. We looked at the benefits for akunga in terms of declarative language and also for adults. So, for example, it promotes akunga voice, helps build whakawhanaungatanga. In terms of trauma-informed practice, it really promotes that sense of connection and safety. There were many other benefits that we went through as well. Also, students who are neurodivergent, we looked at impact on executive functioning skills. And then we talked about, when should we use declarative language? Well, actually, we should use it most of the time. We should use it on students who are either inside or outside their window of tolerance. So the window of tolerance is when we're in that window, we're socially engaged, we're ready for learning, we can problem solve, we can think. But when we're outside that and we're hyper aroused, flight, fight, or hypo aroused, which is when we withdraw, then there might be an opportunity also to use declarative language. Within the presentation, I scaffolded many different examples that you can use around declarative language. We delved into Linda Murphy, who's the guru around declarative language, her handbook. Yeah, so there was a whole range, and the intention was to give you a whole lot of resources. So hopefully they've been very useful. All right, thanks, Fee. We'll jump into communities of practice. So this is This is exciting for us because our intention in 2026 is to roll out a community of practice, and we're really interested later in the webinar to get your feedback on this. So just to start with, a community of practice is a group of people in partnership. It is a shared leadership model where participants share common interests, concern or passion, and engage in regular interaction to learn from each other and improve their skills and knowledge in that specific area. And I really like the little quote at the end. It's learn with, from and about each other. So we all come with our experiences and skills and expertise, and it's about sharing that knowledge, but also learning from each other in an intentional way. So that's generally what a community of practice is. All right, thanks, Fee. So a community of practice, the concept has been around for some time now. It was developed by Jean Lave and Etienne Wenger way back in 1991. And I remember when I did my RTLB study back in, well, it seems so long ago now, 2013 and 14, there was a lot of information around Etienne Wenger's community of practice. So if you're interested in delving into where that started, they wrote a book there, which you can see, Situated Learning. And it's common not only in education, but also the business world and other contexts as well. Thanks, Fee. All right, so just the benefits of establishing a COP, and there's many benefits, there's other benefits that aren't listed here on the slide, but these are the main ones, I guess. It's an opportunity for individuals to develop and share their experience and skills. As I said earlier, it's also a learning opportunity for everybody. For example, our community of practice that we've developed within the professional learning network, I've learned heaps off colleagues, and I'm sure, well, I hope they've learned a little bit from me as well. So yeah, that's a great benefit of it. And it just allows us to connect around our common interests and our common goals, and obviously within our umbrella of trauma-informed practice. And another thing that's great about communities of practice, it bridges that theory to practice gap, which has been an ongoing issue in education. By coming together, we can, delve into the research, the theory, but then look at, the practices that we're doing that adds value. So it bridges that. And I really like the last advantage or benefit there. It builds that sustainability. So if someone happens to step aside from the community of practice for a number of reasons, then someone else can step in, and it's just a sustainable model, which is awesome. Just the visual there, and I won't go too much into that because there'll be other opportunities to do that in future webinars, but there's three characteristics of a community of practice. We've got the domain, which I guess is the key themes or topics. We've got the community, and we've got the practice all intersecting with each other. All right, so yeah, just a brief overview. Michelle, do you want to jump in and talk about the breakout spaces? Oh, you're on mute.
Muted.
Sorry about that. So this is where the interactivity comes. We're going to go into breakout rooms to have a kōrero. And I have to say that one of the things joining the PLN that's really opened my eyes and has been amazing is recognising and having the chance to interact with people from different clusters, because I was sitting at the team meeting yesterday and we were talking about things, and I said, you do realise that not everyone does it that way. We don't all do it the same way. And hearing how other people do things and just connecting with people outside of your space is actually really powerful, and it's really grown my practice actually. But and so we're going to go into breakouts. Just a little bit about the etiquette. Keep yourself on mute unless you're talking. Actively listen, participate, and if you could select someone to share back, you know, standard stuff. Next. So 12 minutes, apparently that's the sweet spot for breakout rooms. So it's definitely a chance to whakawhanaungatanga, so to get to know each other, because this is the start, this is it. Because what we really want is a sustainable group of people who really just want to push this mahi forward, because Fee and I were at a conference in the holidays, and there was a whole lot of people collecting together in the Natina conference based on neuro-informing, trauma-informed network Aotearoa, and it was people from and whānau, and it was really powerful to see a group of people that were all focused on the same goal. And I think that connecting with people that share your vision and share your values is really powerful. And I think as RTLB, it can be sometimes a little bit, sometimes you can feel a little bit on your own. And so having other people around you is very powerful. So, whakawhanaungatanga, choose your person. So this is the korero. Think about a community of practice, or you might call it a professional learning group, or you might call it a professional learning community. So some group that you've been involved in, and what has made it successful? Because we really want to hear that. And what do we need to be cognizant of in setting up a national Te Whare Whakaruruhau community of practice? What would you like to tell us? So the idea is that we would have a group of a community of practice based on creating safe spaces. And what might that look like? And any other thoughts or reflections about our mahi? So thanks, Fee. I think Fee's going to do the breaking out.
Yep. So I'll be able to share this.
Okay.
Oh, no. Have we? Sorry, no, we've still got room one. Room one are very busy chatting. Here they come now.
Oh, it'll be that Joe. It'll be or is it Kathy? One of you having a yarn. If you just want to give us a wee bit of use your react button down the bottom, and if we can get a wee indication of how the breakout room worked for you. There was some really great conversations happening. So we asked you to pop away, and I'll just close that. Sorry, my screen's a bit funny. To pop away and in your breakout rooms discuss two things. The first is thinking about a community of practice you've been involved in and the key components and the experience. So is there anyone that wants to feedback from room one? Did you get around to nominating somebody with your ideas that could feed back to us?
Goodness,
really love
is that me? Is that me, Anna?
It might be Kathy.
Because I was nominated. Jeanette just told me I was doing it. She clearly doesn't know me that well, where I don't do these things well. I don't know about ones that we'd been in. Greg was there with us as well, so it was just three of us. He said that he's organised as his job in the past, lots of communities of practice. I know definitely through study that I've been part of lots of communities of practice as well. We thought that there would need to be sort of quite setting the scene in the beginning, so, you know, like rules and things like that, but like you've just done, Michelle, for us before we went into our breakout rooms. Yeah, just kind of setting that scene so that everybody knows. We talked about the whakawhanaungatanga, and you know, like that's really important before you can actually start to do any work in your community of practice space. So you know, like knowing one another really, really well. We talked about diarying it quite far in advance, because then if it's there, you can't book anything else over the top of it. Because we thought that was quite important, and also as we do for these times, recording them so that even though you're there, like I quite like, because when you're actually engaged and talking and things, I like to be able to go back later and listen to it again, because you get different things out of it the second time around.
Yep, absolutely. Now, who was the spokesperson for room 2? Is there anything else that you'd like to? Yes, Greg, that's a great point about the speed of trust in the group.
Quote.
Thank you for adding that in. Who was room two's spokesperson?
That was me.
Hi, Christine.
Hi, how are you doing?
Thanks.
Just to follow on from what Kathy was saying, we discussed a couple of logistical things as well, but then also had a couple of examples of where we had found that the community of practice had worked well. So the logistical things, we talked about timing. For example, perhaps that a Friday might be a bit better just in terms of the way most RTLB would work time-wise. We also had mooted the idea of maybe once or twice a term having a block, a couple of hour block. There are some other PDs that operate like that. As far as the working, we thought looking at perhaps an expert model was suggested with a designated hierarchy. So just following on from Kathy's point that it would actually be a happening thing. And the other kōrero we had a look at was around that if we were working in with local schools in our areas and being able to be part of something in our area locally, we found that that was really good for connection and also for follow through when you were working in the schools, because everybody was on the same page with what was happening in practice as well.
Thank you, Christine. Now, both, oh, Kathy, where have you gone? Is she still there? She's just popped off. Anyway, the second point there is if we're looking at setting up a Te Whare Whakaruruhau community of practice nationally, similar to what we've been doing with webinars where we're communicating online like this, is there anything else that we've missed in the feedback there? Either Christine or Kathy wants to feedback. Is there anything that that's cognizant in the setting up of a community of practice nationally? Kathy, did you have anything else that came back from your breakout space?
I think we've covered it, but Greg or Jeanette, you feel free to jump on in there in case I've missed something.
Right, you got a thumbs up from Greg. And
Would be interested to hear from Greg. Would be interested to hear from Greg as a CM. They're definitely an important group for us to be connecting with. So yeah.
So what's your question, Fiona?
But just from your perspective as a cluster manager, with the suggestion that we might look at communities of practice across, is there anything that you from that particular position you'd be wanting to say to us to be mindful of?
I guess the challenge with any sort of communities of practice is people seeing enough of themselves and their needs in them to make it worth engaging. So that's where well, it's a need, but it also means you're on a bit of a hiding to nothing because you're never going to make all of the people happy all of the time. But yeah, that's often one of the challenges, that if people just see a fraction of what their current PGC goal is or whatever in this particular community of practice, then is it worth my prioritizing it if I'm not getting enough out of it to make it worth the time? So that's the really challenging bit to try and set up. And what we were talking about in our group around being really clear about what the specific focuses might be so that people can choose well, because you need to keep them consistent. No, that relationship forming you can't under-emphasize. So you can't, well, they're not as effective if you have people coming and going out of them all the time. So you need to just have a group of people, however many it is, and they're the ones you stick with, and you continue to stick on the same sorts of ideas and topics and everything else. And you're not having to go back and re-explain what you did 2 times ago for someone who this is the first time for 4 times they've been able to make it. Just gets really frustrating. So it's finding all of those ways that people can can commit and will choose to commit because it's serving their needs.
Yeah, really
That's
good
where
point.
that idea about timetabling and things comes from. You know, my experience would be people knowing 3 or 4 terms out what the dates are going to be, what the times are going to be, and you can just say, look, sorry, I can't come to that hui then because I've got a community of practice meeting I need to be in.
Yeah, really good point.
And there was a question there in the chat for you, Greg, actually, I think for you. Judith was just asking what's considered an ideal and manageable size for a community of practice group.
5 to 6 is what the research would show. What it means is that if 1 or 2 people can't make it, you've still got enough critical mass to make it worth meeting.
Yeah.
But and people can get to have a contribution in a session. If you have too many people, you can just not end up sharing and contributing. So having those protocols and processes that mean you're not just hearing from people, you are getting the collective view and understanding and learning from each other is quite important too.
Awesome. Chris Clay, I've had the opportunity, I don't know if Greg, if you are aware of Chris Clay, he was at a principals conference and he does some really cool work in terms of how you would bring a group together to really move forward and with some innovation, if that makes sense. So we did some work with him right at the beginning of the RTLB Aotearoa establishment with this in mind, and then we've kind of been busy building it. So yeah, that's one of the thoughts, is that we kind of tap into his brains again, because I totally took the comments around then there needing to be benefit from that time spent, and that we are, you know, that we're collectively gaining something from it, and gifting, I think too, gifting that then to the wider RTLB service. So yep. Awesome.
Now, speaking of gifting, Fee, I think we're on to you talking about our research project.
I'll kind of, yes, a bit sidetracked. Okay, thank you, Anna. Right. Thanks heaps, everybody, for your contribution. That's really helpful because we're, you know, very much at the beginning of this particular mahi. So it's very helpful. Okay. So our research project, we just thought this was a nice opportunity, and we got to meet a couple of weeks ago in the holidays, and it was a bit of a star in pulling out our research data is raw currently, and we've been working on bringing it out, and Anna's just kind of given us a bit of go forward with collating our national data. So we thought we'd give you a bit of a snapshot of some of it. So what we were interested in finding out, so our aim was to investigate the critical elements that contribute to establishing effective trauma-informed schools. And our focus was when it's working well. What we wanted to do was first look at schools that we were aware of nationally that were on that trauma-informed journey. And we spent some, yes, thank you. That's, yeah, spot on, Greg. So I just spotted that. Helen Timberley's done some great work there. We looked at schools that were just beginning their journey, but had a principal that was very keen to move forward with it, through to embedded. So we had kind of a scale of 1 to 3 with beginning, sort of emergent, on the journey, and embedded. So this is the national data across our, and what we are wanting to do is then hopefully map and see some trends that as the school becomes more embedded, we will see some improvements in some of this key data. So these were the key objectives for our research.
Fee,
I think our screen's frozen.
I can't see the slides that you're referring to.
Oh, okay. Thank you. There you go. Is that better? Yep. Well done. So just, that was our research aim. These are our objectives. I'll just let you have a look at that for a minute. How did we go about that? So we started with semi-structured interviews, and we interviewed the principal, the SENCO, key leadership staff, the RTLB, LSC for the school. We had 10 kura that we identified. As I say, they were on their journey, either emergent, beginning their trauma-informed journey through to embedded. And we wanted to cover urban, rural, primary, secondary area, and we had a specialist school. And we also, with the support of Monocle Education and our lead researcher, Heidi Leeson, we conducted staff and student surveys. And so that's where this sort of initial data is coming from for you. What we've got, what I'm showing you here is what we've pulled out is where the respondent agreed or strongly agreed. So some of the initial national findings from the survey data. So in terms of the impact on student wellbeing and performance, so this is from the staff survey, and 77% of the staff respondents, teacher respondents, including the principal, felt that trauma-informed practices have had a positive impact on the wellbeing of students. That was agree and strongly agree, which we see as pretty solid finding, that they saw TIP as having had a positive impact on the academic performance of the students. That's key. If we're going to make these shifts, it's about going Maslow before Bloom. You are going to make a difference to the academics if you show up in a way that's trauma-informed, is making those connections. And that the overall climate of our school has been positively influenced by trauma-informed practices. So as I say, our next step is to our hunches will be able to show a continuum, and that those schools that are well embedded will be showing stronger results than this. This is our national average currently. We were interested in looking at the enablers. So from this, what we're hoping to do is to be able to provide RTLB with support around when it works, what works well, what are the enablers. And I think we're all pretty clear on the importance of leadership. So 78% of the respondents felt that the school's leadership adequately supported the use of trauma-informed practices. That's cool. That's really important. The professional development opportunities provided have enhanced their skills. 65% of the respondents agreed and strongly agreed. That's enhanced their ability to implement trauma-informed strategies, 64%. Interesting, though, you see the decline. And so this is definitely showing up where there's gaps. And this is starting to show where there are areas that we could provide support. So collaboration with external organisations and or communities effectively supports our school's TI journey. So that's a bit of a drop. 53% agree, strongly agree. And from our interviews, that came through in the semi-structured as well, that sense of isolation, that they were on this journey, but they didn't necessarily feel that they had outside agencies that were on the journey with them. Except the RTLB often was cited as being a very powerful support. This is the next layer of unpacking that we will be getting to. So, we can start to see where there could be some improvement, and this 52% agree, strongly agree. I effectively use student feedback to refine trauma-informed practices in my teaching. Just probably make a plug for Ross Green CPS at this point. You know, when we're talking about student voice and the importance of that, this may be an area where we could be supporting to strengthen. effectively use whānau feedback to refine trauma-informed practice in my teaching. Again, not quite there yet. Feel prepared to support students and colleagues in moments of crisis in a manner consistent with trauma-informed practice. And I'd suggest that anecdotally, that might be our experience too, supporting teachers with their own regulation, the psychological first aid strategies, those kinds of things. Maybe not quite there yet, and that may be an area that we could be providing some support. The ability to put the oxygen mask on for themselves first. I have access to effective strategies and resources for incorporating approaches into my teaching. Resourcing came through. It did. And it always does. It came through as being an area that could be improved. So looking to sustainability, again, something that maybe, not bad, but not possibly where we would be wanting to see it. I have a clear vision for the future of trauma-informed approaches in our school and understand the support needed to achieve this. So possibly not. And again, we would be thinking that our number 3 schools, we'd be wanting to see that. And I can think of a couple of schools where the principal is very, very, very effective in ensuring that all of their staff are aware of the plan and can see the plan moving forward. But again, this is a good week cue for us. I'm involved in efforts to maintain and enhance enablers and supporting the integration. Again, that may be an area for some work, and I actively take steps to overcome barriers to implementing. Another one that's important to dig into, but some sense that for these schools that there is some sense of self-efficacy for the staff. There is a slight improvement there. And just the last one for that piece. There are effective strategies in place to cultivating a shared commitment to trauma-informed education among staff, students and whānau. I would suggest it's the students' whānau piece. That's brought that particular score down. Successes and challenges in implementing trauma-informed practices are regularly monitored and communicated in this school. We found that one really interesting. So, as I say, it's thrown us some interesting stuff to dig into. And so that's a pretty low score. And then I have had effective support for students with diverse learning needs in my classroom. Again, gives us something to work on. So strongly agree. And I would suggest that that links back to possibly that sense of isolation. So then this is something that Michelle had pulled out from the data and presented when she presented at Natina last week. And as I say, this is very much a snapshot, just to give you a sense of what we've been doing, what we've been collecting, and there's some of those interim observations that we've been able to make. But this was the starting to look at our fully embedded versus our emerging, and look at the difference in the strongly agree for the student data. So they feel happy and relaxed with people at school in a fully embedded trauma-informed. In terms of strongly agree, 64%. We also had the response that was students responding that they agreed. But we just wanted to pull out that strongly agree because that's quite powerful. In the emerging, 45% felt happy and relaxed with people at school. In terms of enjoying learning new things, again, we're really wanting to tag this back to it makes a difference with the academics. And that's just about double, or it's heading that way. Enjoys learning new things. And in a fully embedded trauma-informed school, 47% strongly agreed, whereas in the emerging, 29%. So one could extrapolate that those schools that aren't even on the trauma-informed journey, we're going to get worse than that. So our hope is that this is data that we will be able to unpack and report for you that you will be able to use. I wanted to finish with this because when we've looked through, we really felt that this was where one of the gaps may be sitting, and it's that whānau voice. So our results across nationally, and again, we still need to unpack that. What would we be getting from a fully embedded school? Only 50% of the survey respondents felt that whānau face no significant biases or barriers when interacting with the school in the context of trauma-informed. So that's a bit of a concern, that they don't feel equipped to engage with whānau experiencing challenging situations, that there's some confidence in communicating with whānau as aligned to trauma-informed practice, but still work to be done. Feedback from whānau, and this was particularly interesting. Feedback from whānau was used to inform the school's trauma-informed approach. And of the interviews that I did, when I asked those questions, there was and I've been really lucky. I've got some schools that are flipping amazing and, very caring, very connected, but they went, oh, we haven't done that. So they care, they're busy getting on with trying to solve problems, but they're not necessarily partnering with whānau, and that's a missed opportunity. So yeah, in every situation, that was a bit of a nod to them. They went, oh, we're going to do that. That actually, wasn't something they'd considered. And I believe our school effectively engages with whānau in supporting trauma-informed practice. Again, somewhat of a gap. So just thought we'd leave that on that note, to give you something to consider on your trauma-informed journey. And we're very well aware of the importance of our Kongo whānau voice, and we often find ourselves in that space where we're lobbying, advocating for them. I would suggest that that's an incredibly powerful thing to continue to do.
Thanks very much, Faye. It's really good to give participants an outline of our exciting research project. So thank you very much. And thank you, Greg. I noticed that you've just put a really cool link into the chat around providing impact for schools around PLD. So thank you very much for that. We'll delve into that as well. All right, so in terms of what's next, we invite you to invite a colleague, maybe new to the PLN, to join our next TWW webinar, which will be next year. And check out our amazing COP section on our website. We've got a lot of content there that outlines the processes around establishing a COP. Inspire, share a tip or COP resource on our Facebook page or group forum. We really appreciate if you can do that, because that will provide us food for thought, especially around establishing community of practice. And look to celebrate those small wins in terms of Uplift, a moment where connection changed the trajectory for a young person. Okay, so thinking about that. Thank you. Next slide. Thanks, Fee. And if you haven't already, you're most welcome to join us on our website and our Facebook page. The links are there. We've got real momentum with our Facebook. We've got over 700 members. Be good to boost it up even further. So yeah, as I say, invite you to ask a new colleague or person who hasn't been on our website or Facebook. And Anna, over to you for closing karakia.
Thanks, Ants. And I just want to tautoko what you said around participants' involvement today. It was challenging because we asked you to get into breakout rooms and share some ideas, which is new for us. So we really appreciate everyone's interaction today. So in closing karakia, Kia tau te manaakitanga ki runga ki tina o tātou. Kia piki te ora, kia piki te māramatanga, kia hoki pai atu, kia hoki pai mai, tūturu, whakamaua, kia tina, haume hue tākie. Settle the care and protection upon each of us. May the health and understanding grow. Return well to others and ourselves. Hold fast to your authenticity. Be firm, join together, gather together, bind as one. Thank you so much for today. Ka kite.